Yo, what's up, guys? You got IA here, coach of the Connecticut Cobalions, and today we're going to be talking about draft analysis with PR guy Shy.
Hello.
Say hello.
It was a very good way to introduce me.
PR guy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you wanna talk about the first guy?
So first off, we have the Dayton. Is it Dayton? Dayton Dedenes. I'm assuming it's pronounced that way. So his draft, we have him ranked number 1. Or at least I do. I do power rankings. I just here to help talk. As somebody to talk with.
I'm just here.
Yeah. So he drafted Manaphy, Latios, Megabedrill, Arcanine, Serena, Crocodile, Swellow, Alolan Ninetales, Smeargle, Magneton, and Alolan Sandslash, and then his Zimon was Manaphy. And I believe that the Z rule in this league is you get everything the Hawk boosting with that boost, obviously.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know what to So, start off, for this team, speed tiers on it were solid. I didn't really have an issue with the speed tiers on this team. There's a lot of teams that are probably going to get heavily roasted for your shit speed tiers because some of you guys' speed tiers are complete garbage. Just saying that now.
They're not the best. I will admit that. I don't know if I would have given this team an A though.
It was.
And I'm gonna say why. Okay, so he has Hail, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
I actually ran a Hail team myself a while back. Did not go well, but anyway, he has Hail and he also has Smeargle. And I feel like that's kind of counterintuitive, as Hail could break Smeargle's sash. Of course, you don't always have to bring Smeargle, but I don't know. That's like the first thing I see when I look at his team. Yeah, good Volt turn core. Manaphy is always a threat, especially Z Manaphy.
Especially with the lower veil access.
Yeah, I mean,
It lets it set up on a 1-for-1 but
teams could prep for it with defog and that kind of thing.
well, of course, but like,
yeah,
that's anything. It's just like the option being there, forcing you to defog to prevent stuff like that. But then if you're defogging on that, then they're getting a terrible anyway.
yeah, that's true. Of course, there are counters, but it's a solid team. I like it.
I like this. Like when I'm going over this last night, because I did most of this last night. It was one of the teams that I definitely felt was maybe not the best team in the league, but like to me it was the most solid built team like overall, and that's kind of why I thought it got the number 1 spot. And that's kind of
it's definitely solid. Yeah.
To me, it was one of the more solid teams built out of everybody here. And again, everybody has their own opinion on their own things, and being somebody who went over and was doing this a bunch last night, that was just kind of what I thought. So,
Yeah, it has all the good main cores. It has Water, Fire, Grass, and Dragon, Steel, and Fairy. Although Alolan Sand, well, no, he has 2 Steel types. So yeah, it's good.
I just feel like the offense on this team with the Volt Turn core is definitely going to be a huge threat and make this team a very tough one to deal with at times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's going to be forced to run defog if he wants to remove hazards most games, because Alolan Sandslash does not always have the best matchup versus teams.
I mean, Serena's also a good spinner, though.
So if he wants, yeah, it's a spinner, but like it has really bad weaknesses.
Serena does?
No, Alolan Sandslash. I didn't see Serena. Yeah, another rapid spinner.
He has Serena, so like he has access to rapid spin at least on 3 mons if he wants to bring like rapid spin Smeargle or something. Like not saying that's a good not saying that's a good option. Just it's an option. So like it's like bringing like defog on Megabedrill. Like that's an option. It's not a good one sometimes, but it's an option.
Yeah.
So, but like, I feel like the fact that this team has at least 1 solid spinner on it, plus at least like 3 or 4 defoggers on it, definitely gives it a lot of good options, and even has like an extra spinner in like Alolan Sandslash and Smeargle.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it has some of the better hazard removal in this league. There is some better ones down the line, but for sure some of the more solid hazard removal.
Yeah, I feel like if he wants to bring rocks, he'll be forced to put those rocks on Crook.
Yeah.
Mainly because Smirgle always doesn't have the best matchup versus teams either. And I doubt he'll want to bring Smirgle every week because once it sets up hazards, it's kind of just fodder.
No, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Crook's going to be becoming rocks a lot, but with how this team is like made, I feel like it won't be too much of a problem for it. Like Crook can become like a Moxie sweeper, and there's games that you might not just need rocks to win with like things on the team anyway. So
that's true.
But
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Who knows?
I've never seen him play really, and I don't know really much about him. So we'll see how he ends up doing with his team. So
yeah,
he could surprise us with some things. So now we're going on to the Westchester Weaviles. Coached by, I believe, hold up. I'm very, very organized about this.
Yeah, looking for it too.
Moody. Yeah, so this is ranked number 2 team. This one and Neon, I had some tough time deciding who I should put number 1 and number 2, but I overall decided I felt like Neon's team was a lot better. But not a lot better, but enough better to like put it over.
I'm still trying to find the team.
Page 9.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Page 9. All right. What is he? Let's go over what he has. He has Zygarde 50%, Milotic, Togekiss, Fortress, Heliolisk, Volcarona, Weezing, Gragonal, Mega Glade, Bisharp, and Dusknoir. Yeah. Very solid, very solid.
I really did like this team when looking over it. Speed tiers are good still. Has a smallish drop, but like it's not that big a deal. Again, some of the better speed tiers in this league being in the upper half. Like a lot of the lower people have some bad speed tiers, and there's some people down there that have good speed tiers. There were just other things wrong with their team, but like part of their grade was due to speed tiers and other things were factored in, of course. So
I will say this, although it's very solid, but Mega Glade being the fastest Mon isn't always the best.
No, I know.
But it's still a solid team.
It's better than a lot of the team's other like fastest Mons though. There's a team with their fastest Mon being 105, and that's the only thing they have over base 100. So
well, when you put it like that, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think the speed tiers on this team are solid. Having a 115 as your highest isn't terrible, but it isn't great either. But it's better than a lot of things. Hazard removal is pretty decent. Has Togekiss, Fortress, and Cryogonal for that. I feel like Togekiss definitely would be more forced to be the hazard removal because I've never really seen Fortress do all that well at being actual hazard removal. But
I've seen Fortress do pretty well before, but again, it's very situational.
Yeah. Personally, I've just never used it well myself either, so that's probably where that's coming from.
What's really good about this team is Mons that are forced to run HP Ice for Zygarde cannot run HP Fire for Fortress.
Yeah,
and so on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I know that's definitely going to help Fortress a lot, though. Be able to do its job due to Zygarde being such a big threat.
Yeah. And of course, Bisharp is there to help with defog.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was about to go over. Like I really like the Bisharp and the Dusknoir on this team because it gives him options to keep hazards. Either you get defog and then Bisharp comes in and then gets a +2, or you can't rapid spin on Dusknoir. And Dusknoir has really
not sure how often he'll bring Dusknoir though, but
Dusknoir is a good mon. I feel like for low points at least.
I feel like Dusclops is a bit better just because it's so much more bulkier, but Dusknoir can be run different sets.
Yeah. That's the difference between the two for sure, is that Dusknoir has more sets, but Dusclops is overall bulkier.
Yeah. He has Toxic Spice with Weezing.
Yeah,
set up with Volcarona.
Yeah, Volcarona is
set up with Togekiss if he needs to, and Zygarde. Yeah, very, very good team.
He has a very good offensive threatening things, and Zygarde plus Volcarona having to prep for both of those every week, plus like him bringing maybe SD Gallade even is gonna just. I feel like a lot of teams are going to have trouble just prepping for this team in general because some of the bulk on this team is really strong as well.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing, the one thing about this team that I didn't like necessarily, but it isn't like too big of a deal, is their Wish Passer's Togekiss with not a lot of walls, but a few walls that you'd like to get reliable recovery, but Togekiss isn't terrible at being a Wish Passer.
I feel like I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be running Wish sets with Togekiss for this.
I don't think he will at all.
Like I feel
either.
Like
so
yeah.
But like I'm just saying, like overall,
I mean, it gets access to Heal Bell, so
yeah, that helps.
I guess if Zygarde or Milotic gets toxic,
or if you
Togekiss can save it. Yeah.
Or if he's like Rest Zygarde and wants to switch out, he can always Heal Bell it off. So overall,
very solid team.
I really like his team a lot. Then we have the Wetter Breilooms, which I believe is Vilgis's team, correct?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So he has Tapu Bulu, Alakazam, Volcanion, Decidueye, Flygon, Cobalion, Drapion, Ditto, Licky, Mega Aerodactyl, Piloswine, and Pichu.
Best pick on the draft is Pichu, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
But some things I liked about this team were it has some decent hazard removal options. It doesn't have a Rapid Spinner, which can kind of pose some of an issue. Has 3 good options for setting rocks up, so it's not going to be like a huge issue getting him up some games, but they are mostly weak to fighting his rock setters. What was some other things I liked about this team? I like Ditto on this team. Ditto's just okay in like any team really. Ditto kind of just fits teams.
I really love this guy's speed tiers.
Oh yeah,
this is fantastic.
He probably the best speed tiers in the league, like hands down. Just because comparatively to everybody else, I definitely think these speed tiers are probably the best.
Yeah, and of course Ditto's 48.
48
can't really be counted as 48 because it'll copy its opponent's speed. Yeah.
Yeah, so it like Ditto just becomes any speed tier that you would want, and you can just scarf it every week. Or I've seen other items ran, but usually you always scarf on it. Another thing about this team that I did like is the mons that don't have reliable recovery, like Piloswine and like Cobalion, like because you can run Cobalion as a wall. Volcanion get like supported by grassy terrain really well, and with that because again the extra little recovery now grassy terrain does help the opponent a little bit, but I feel like with some of the mons on here it helps them. And then Licky's a great Wish Passer for this team as well, keeping some of the big bulkier threats alive. One of the complaints I do about this team is the fact that like Tapu Bulu, I don't know. I've never seen Tapu Bulu do it amazingly well unless it's been like Scarf or Banded. Like the defensive sets just don't seem to run well because of the 4 times weakness to poison. Everybody making sure they have a poison move because of how threatening Bulu can be.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm not sure. Like, okay, so Tapu Bulu with grassy terrain could weaken Flygon's Earthquake a bit. That could be troublesome. Or maybe Mega Aerodactyl that wants to get rid of electric types.
Or Piloswine.
And even Piloswine. Of course, it weakens Pichu a bit. That's very important.
Yeah. But I do overall think that the Bulu will... I don't know. Bulu, I think, will become a lot less than the Decidueye on this team will.
Yeah.
Because the Decidueye has Defog and doesn't have that 4 times poison weakness. But when this team definitely needs the offensive pressure of Bulu, it'll definitely be coming as a wall breaker.
One of the only things I see with this team is I feel like they're going to be forced to run Defog on something every single week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just because if they want to bring Volcanion, they don't want it to take 25% every time it comes in.
Or Mega
Aerodactyl. Yeah. So
overall,
I don't know. I mean, those are the only 2 really weak to hazards. I guess if they didn't bring those 2, they don't really need hazard removal, but
they just gotta be careful with hazard stats.
Yeah.
And stuff, but they do have some good hazards of their own as well. They even have access to T-Spikes with this team as well, Drapion.
Yep.
Overall, it's fairly solid. Okay. Don't know why that just randomly opened. Okay. Anyway, I'm just gonna continue talking now. And then the Pichu pick, obviously best pick on this team. It brings the whole team together.
Yeah, it's the it's their mascot.
Yep. So yeah, that's the Wetter Breilooms. Let's move on to...
No, Pichu's taken over.
No.
I have a feeling they'll be changing their name next season.
To the Pittsburgh Pichus. All right. They'll just that's your new team name now. No arguing.
Yeah.
So
that's
now,
what we'll refer to you from now on.
He's the Pichu Pit Boss.
All right.
So we're moving on. I believe Fancy's team.
Yep.
Who's number
the Wingles, right?
4 on my power rankings? Correct. Yeah. All right. So let's see. He has Mega Charizard X, Tapu Fini, Umbreon, Nidoking, Cresselia, Shaman, Alolan Raichu, Lucario, Aerodactyl, Greninja, and then Kricketune. So I'm just gonna start off with this is one of the this team has some good mons that are fast and stuff, but its speed tiers are very clumpy. Like has a lot of in the range of 100 to 85. It has over half of its team in that speed range, which isn't like necessarily like. I know some people don't look at that as a problem, but to me, that just means like half of your team just gets like at base 100.
It's easier to prep for in terms of speed, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you can easily speed creep them if you have a specific stat you want to have speed, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know, just clumpier teams are just... Clumpy speed tiers aren't great. Like, it's not terrible speed tiers, but it's not amazing because of how clumpy it is. I feel, but...
Yeah.
I wish this team had more hazard removal. I probably would have ranked it a little higher if it actually had a good spinner. Finny's going to be coming every week as a defogger. Like, there's no questions. Anytime that Charizard comes, Finny's coming.
Oh, no. I anticipate Finny to come every week.
Finny's, like
Tapu Fini, like, amazing. Like, it's really good.
It's really good in League format, and the reason why I still have this team ranked so high is even though the Tapu Fini is the only hazard removal on this team, that's really all this team really needs most of the time, because it's probably going to be coming most every week. Just Finny in general giving status immunity to like Umbreon and Shaman as walls.
I really like the Tapu Fini Umbreon core.
Yeah,
I think they
pair well,
help each other well.
Yeah,
with the wish support from Umbreon to Tapu Fini.
Yeah, making Tapu Fini even more annoying to deal with. And Nature's Madness is such a great move.
Yep.
No immunities to Nature's Madness, unlike like Super Fang and stuff, so it just makes the move even better. Still has that chance to miss though, and then when you do, you're kind of sad. But I think this team's bulk is super annoying with like Umbreon, Finny, Cress, Shaman. Like that's all the bulk and Zardex, I guess, can be counted in this. But like that's all the bulk this team has. But I don't think it really needs much else for bulk because that bulk itself is just really annoying to handle.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because Cress is always like a nuisance to everybody. Like everybody hates it. Even when you draft it, you're kind of like, I hate this mon.
And then there's Greninja.
Oh, and then it has offensive threats like Greninja, Charizard X, Lucario, even Aerodactyl can be kind of threatening.
Yep.
And
then others.
this team doesn't seem like it has like if brought and played correctly, just you don't have a switch in. Like it's pressure offensive.
It's definitely going to be tough to play against.
Mm-hmm. Overall, like that's again, this team probably would have been rated a little higher, maybe even like 2 or 3, maybe 1 if it had a little bit better hazard removal. Like Finny is great, and it's probably going to be coming as the hazard removal every week. But having access to having spin when you have like access to like some really good hazard setters, I guess. I mean, Nidoking and Aerodactyl are okay. Yeah. And then Greninja does have access to them. You're probably going to be bringing that offensively most weeks. And then you have Kricketune for webs, and I don't see that coming a lot because of Defog being ran every week.
Which Tapu Fini may be forced to run.
Yeah.
And accidentally get rid of webs.
Yep.
Because of rocks for Zard.
Because that's definitely what Finny's role is going to end up being on this team, is a bulky, annoying mon that just keeps rid of rocks for Zard.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure how that'll play into how predictable it'll be to prep for, but
it might be pretty predictable, but we'll find out as the season goes on, for sure.
Yeah. There are a bunch of sets he can run, I guess.
So then we have the Dallas Dragonites, which is Bill, which is
Okay. All right. So Bill has Kyurem Black, which is a Zmon,
yep.
Excadrill, Gothitelle, Crobat, Rotom Heat, Mega Gyarados, Virizion, Mimikyu, Gigalith, Mascarian, and Stoutland. All right. Do you want to talk about his team first?
So things I like about this team is has access to sand, which is always a nice thing with Excadrill, and actually has Stoutland as an option for sand abuser as well. Has some really threatening offensive mons with like Kyurem Black. Mimikyu is a great one because it basically becomes as like a good revenge killer for certain mons because it just has the disguise intact if you keep it that way. I don't know. Overall, I think Mimikyu is a really great mod in League format as well. Has some great bulk with, well, like not great bulk, but good enough bulk, I guess, with things with like Rotom Heat, Crobat can be bulky. Gothitelle is pretty bulky-ish and can trap things for this team. So.
Yeah. I probably would have ranked this team a bit higher. Just because of how threatening this whole core works out. Like, I've when I was prepping for his team, I found it very hard to prep with the bulk that I have right now because he has Gothitelle, so I couldn't bring anything that would help me against other opposing threats because Gothitelle could trap and potentially win the game. Kyurem Black with the Z move basically has no switch-ins. That plus sand, it can kind of break through most cores unless you... Yeah, I don't see many cores being able to withstand this team. What about you? Any thoughts?
I agree with this team having issues with, or not issues, like having other teams having issues with switching in on this team. The only reason why I didn't feel it was going to be as great is it does lack the other wall, so other offensive teams can like push through this team if used correctly, I feel.
That's also kind of tough, though, because he has Mimikyu.
I know, Mimikyu definitely is the thing that pushes that threat, but like Mimikyu's not going to be good against every offensive mon that can push through this team.
That's true, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out, but that's why I would have ranked it a bit higher. But
yeah, everybody, like I've said at the beginning, everybody has their own opinions, and I personally didn't think he should have been higher, but
a lot of setup mons.
Yeah, he has Mega Gyarados, Excadrill, Mimikyu. Why can't I think? I guess Kyurem Black can set up Z Hail with this team.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
So that also
Although I think maybe Salkberry would be a bit better than Z Hail.
Yeah.
If you wanna, well, actually, I don't know. Never mind. I forgot that only one mon got a Z move for this league.
Good job.
Yeah, Z Hail could work, I guess.
I mean, it lets it run Blizzard over Ice Beam for if you want.
Yeah. But then if they ran Z Hail, it'd kind of be counterintuitive with Sand.
Yeah, that is true. But you're not going to be bringing Sand every week because Sand's not good some weeks.
That's true, yeah. Mega Gyarados, always a threat. Dragon Dance. It could be bulky. It could be like... It could even be Rest, Sleep, Talk.
Oh, yeah. So one more thing I was actually wanting to go over about this team. For hazard removal, it has Excadrill, Crobat, and I guess Masquerain if you want to use that as a defogger. This team is severely weak to rocks. Having...
Yeah,
like Kyurem Black, Crobat, Rotom Heat, Gyarados before it Mega Evolves, Masquerain.
Having
all
however
of that,
you pronounce that.
With it really only having Excadrill and Crobat as its two hazard removals, meaning Excadrill is going to be having to spin for this team to make sure it keeps things like the bigger threats like Kyurem Black and the defensive wall, or in like Mega Gyarados healthier. That was another factor into why I rated it lower than other teams. So, I don't know. To me, like, Excadrill is a great spinner, but it does force it to spin more often than it probably wants.
And it can't spin it can't necessarily spin every game either.
Meaning you have to bring Crobat, and that's weak to Rock, so I'd have to switch in to them a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't really have much else to say about his team except that I do expect him to do pretty well this season with this team. And
Me too.
We'll see how he ends up playing it. Then we're gonna move on to the Is it Tottenham? I don't know how that's said.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Tottenham Hot Sparrows.
Hot.
All right, this is Jack's team. Jack is the commissioner of the league, correct?
Yeah.
So, we have him at. I have him at number 6. His team is Infernape, Nidoqueen, Latias, Mega Blastoise, Raikou, Klefki, Staraptor, Aromatisse, Absol, Tangela, and the almighty Drifblim. You wanna?
Okay, I will. Infernape, very good mon. Like his team seems good, but it also feels like it's missing something, and I don't know what that is. Tangela can be a very good pivot. Aromatisse, good wish passer, heal beller. And then Klefki can set up screens or spikes. Yeah, and then there's Drifblim.
Yeah. So things that I liked about this team when looking over it is its bulk is really strong with having some really hard hitters that even though they're slow, they're really bulky to the point where like if you have a good wish support with like Aromatisse especially, they can probably stay pretty healthy and continue to throw off those hard hits. Like Nidoqueen's really good. Mega Blastoise is really good at doing that. Raikou, if you bring like Assault Vest, is really good with doing that as well. And then this team also has access to like using like Bandit and Scarf Staraptor, and Staraptor just hits really hard with reckless boosted moves.
Yeah, it has good hazards too. It gets spikes, rocks.
Yeah.
And
has good hazard removal with Latias and Mega Blastoise, which are both really good at being hazard removal.
Yeah. I feel like with this kind of team though, he's gonna be forced to bring like the same 5 or 6 mons every week.
That might end up being the case, but like I do feel like this team does have the option to switch it up with some of the things that it does have.
Oh yeah, it definitely has potential.
This one of the main reasons is because I saw a lot of potential in this team, and I definitely thought it could do really well. So that was one that, and with combined with like having decent areas of stuff, it could be. That's why I have it ranked.
Is that your Discord?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute that real quick. Sorry about that. Go ahead and talk while I figure this out.
All right. Well, I think we covered most of it. It could be Carmine, Latias, even Carmine Klefki could work.
Oh yeah,
if he wanted to.
This is one
Klefki gets Carmine, right?
I don't think so.
It doesn't. Hang on, I need to look this up. I thought it got Carmine.
The one thing I did dislike about this team though, as well, was that it went from base 100 to base 80.
It does get Carmine, by the way.
It does? Okay. Good to know. With that big of a speed drop, especially seeing how many mons are in between 80 and 100, that I feel like that's going to be a big problem with allowing a lot of different mons to be able to speed creep this team.
Yeah.
There's like so many 95s, 98s, 96s, 92s, 90s, 86 with all the Rotoms.
Still, I think it's still pretty solid.
No, I don't think they're the worst speed tiers, but I definitely that was a little gripe with this team as well.
Yeah.
That, and he has a lot between like 75 and 80. There's a little clump there as well. But most of those are not going to be running speed, so I guess it doesn't matter too much in that sense.
Yeah.
So, next would be the Milwaukee Braviaries.
Do you know what page that's on for the doc?
Nope. I am looking for it.
Same.
I'm very prepped for this. It is on page 8. Or 7.
Then I missed it.
Or no, it's 8. Yeah, it's 8. Alright, so you want to read off this team?
Alright, yep. Alright, so they have Mew, Mega Venusaur, Terrakion, Hydreigon, Vaporeon, Braviary, Manectric, Granbull, Scizor, Rhydon, Magmortar, and Dusclops. Oh, see, they got Dusclops.
Yep. Right off the bat, issue with this team was it doesn't have anything over base 108.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big problem. This team does have a few mons that are really good at being Scarfers, but having to rely on that all the time is not going to be the best either. Especially since your fastest mon
I don't know. I feel like this team has very good bulk. And I think Mew
really
kind of solidifies it, because Mew can be run as basically anything, really.
Yeah, Mew's an anything mon.
Terrakion, always a threat. And it has nice Wish Pass from Vaporeon.
Yeah, Vaporeon.
Very good
Mega
bulk.
Venusaur.
I like it.
I like the Mega Venusaur Vaporeon core. That's really strong, bulky core.
Yeah, and then Scizor's always a threat.
Scizor's a pretty big threat, but like the one issue I did have with this team is that.
But the thing with Scizor is he could easily always scout for the HP Fire by switching into Vaporeon.
That is very true. The one thing I did dislike about this team, another thing I dislike about Scizor being on this team is he has no like other 4 times weaknesses that help Scizor like hide from those.
Well, they don't always need it.
I know. But like that wasn't a huge issue with this team in general. It's just something I thought I should mention. Another thing I didn't like about this team is it did lack a spinner, like a lot of teams I guess in this league are doing. Meaning that it's going to be using defog a lot more, and one of those main defoggers is going to be Scizor probably because you want to do other things with Mew.
Yeah, I agree. So he only has 3 defoggers, right?
Yeah, he has Braviary, Scizor, and Mew.
I don't see Braviary being run as defog very much.
I don't either. No, it's an option. Like I put down what options they have. Doesn't mean it's going to come.
But normally you don't want to run a hazard removing move on a mon that's weak to that hazard.
Yeah, and especially with it wanting to rather be like sub bulk up or like a Scarfer or a Band.
Yeah.
Braviary much rather fill those roles than trying to be a defog support mon on the team, even though that's not what it's really wanting to do.
I see hazards trying to be used against this team a lot.
Oh, yeah.
To try to win games.
Hazards are definitely going to be the way that people are going to have to try to beat this team because a lot of the bulk on this team is going to be hard to wear down otherwise.
Yeah, I'd agree.
This team also has some really good offensive... Like, the offensive threat of Terrakion with the move in general is just a big threat. And then having that with, like, Hydreigon, Mew access to do anything, because Mew, and then Scizor. Scizor's still an offensive threat. But...
And he has a Volt Turn with Braviary and Manectric. If he wants to bring those 1 week or another, he could. Yeah.
And then Mew and Hydreigon also get access to Volt Turn, and so does Scizor.
And then there's Dusclops, which is just not going to die with the Wish Passing and Heal Belling from Vaporeon.
Yeah.
That's going to be such a pain to face.
Spinning versus this team is going to be tough. For sure, with Dusclops there.
Yeah.
And Dusclops having the Wish support and the Heal Belling and everything like that with Vaporeon. So yeah, this team's definitely gonna... I feel like this team's very solid. Definitely a really strong contending team to do well. So
yeah,
I think we'll go ahead and move on to the New York Pokemon Rangers, because that's a great name. I don't know why Doogie named his team that. I don't understand why that's his team.
Alright, so he has Tapu Koko, Mega Houndoom, Tangrowth, Donphan, Slowking, Tornadus Eye, Bronzong, Haxorus, Porygon 2, Buzzwole, and Noctowl.
So his speed tiers are decent. He does have at least something over 115 on this team. For
Yeah.
better than I can say about a lot of teams. I think the bulk on this team is pretty good with Tangrowth, Donphan, Slowking, P2.
Oh yeah, the bulk is amazing.
This team has really great bulk.
He has two Mons that have Regenerator.
Yep.
Right.
The regen core is
Porygon
really
2, which won't die.
Yeah,
it won't die.
P2 just
a potentially physically defensive Buzzwole, which also will not die unless you hit it from the special side.
Well, yeah. Hence physical wall.
He has Tailwind from Tornado's Eye if he wants that. Mega Houndoom, good wall breaker. Same with Tapu Koko.
Yeah. Access to like setup with like Tornai, Tapu Koko with Calm Mind Roost if you want to do that. Tornai with the rest acrobatic sleep talk set. Buzzwole has access to bulk up. It's an option, and then like DD Haxorus being one of the more threatening setup mons on this team.
Yeah, I could also see him running Trick Room if he wanted to.
Oh yeah, the Trick Room option on this team is really good with Bronzong, P2, and Slowking all being able to set it up with like Buzzwole and stuff being that big threat.
Hopefully we didn't reveal his set for the next 4 weeks, but
yeah. But the Trick Room option on this team is really good, and that having with like Buzzwole and like even maybe Donphan and offensive P2 is still really good.
And yeah.
So the Trick Room is a great option for this team with how many Trick Room setters it has access to with the mons that are slow on this team being really strong. So
yeah, I agree.
And then this team also has Noctowl, which is Gucci. The one thing.
Hey, Noctowl's a threat. You know what? I bet he brings it week 1.
You'd definitely be right about that because that game's been played.
You weren't supposed to mention that.
They would know. I told them we're recording today. The one thing that I did.
Well, maybe Noctowl is the MVP for that game. We don't know. We don't know.
We'll see. But Donphan on this team is going to be forced to be like heavily relied on to keep hazards off the side of the field for sure, though. Because that or he's going to bring Noctowl.
That's all it's good for.
Yeah, because that's all it's going to be good for is to be a defogger.
Literally, yeah.
And besides that, I think Doogie has a solid team overall. He's ranked number 8, so he's in the upper half of everybody for a reason. So, moving on, we got the Chicago Cubchoos. Let's get over to them. This is David's team.
Do you know what page it's on?
It is on page 12.
All right.
And I realized
this Conkelders, right?
Hold up 1 second. There's actually an issue with the power rankings because I realized I misplaced 2 of you. We're actually supposed to be talking about you next. Let me just fix that real quickly while we're recording. There we go. Yeah, okay, so we're talking about you next, not David.
All right. Time to move up the list.
You're on page 3.
Yeah. All right, so I drafted Scolipede, Mega Sableye, Dragonite, Empoleon, Sylveon, Darmanitan, Seismitoad, Chansey, Hawlucha, Rotom Cut, and the god Regigigas.
Very solid team.
Thank you. I'm a bit biased for my team, so you want to go over and analyze it?
I'll go ahead and start off with what I had. I felt like this team had some pretty solid speed tiers. First off, the hazard removal was kind of lacking. I guess you do have access to Mega Sableye, but that requires you to have to get the Mega off as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I don't like Chansey as a mon. Never have. That's personal bias, but I didn't really put that. You would probably be rated a lot lower if I allowed Chansey to make me rate you lower. To be honest, but I didn't let that my hatred for Chansey in League format and thinking it's awful go against that. But I do think Chansey is not that great. Go ahead.
I don't know how often I'll be bringing Chansey. I tend to lean towards offensive teams when building. But yeah, I don't know. Chansey, I felt like Chansey, I needed Chansey in order to like cement my Sableye core.
All right.
If that makes sense with Sylveon.
Fair enough. Things that I also like your hazard options. You do have 3 rock setters, and you have access to spikes and T-spikes with Scolipede. I don't really see you bringing that very often, or if at all, because Speed Pass is just
we'll see.
We'll see. Or like Speed Pass plus offensive Scolipede, I feel like are a lot better.
Yeah, the whole idea of me drafting Mega Sableye was mainly so I could set up with Dragonite, right? Now, I'm not sure how often I'll be able to do that, but yeah. I knew I wanted Dragonite, which is why I got Sableye.
Yeah, overall, I did think your team's fairly solid. You have some pretty good threats with Hawlucha, Dragonite, Sylveon as offensive threats, and even Scolipede, because Scolipede with just having speed boost can make itself threatening. I agree with your Z-move choice. There's only like one person I think I disagreed with their Z-move option, but yeah.
It was honestly between Dragonite and Scolipede. Scolipede could just as easily have worked.
Yeah, I wouldn't have disagreed with either of your Z options there. Dragonite and Scolipede are both great Z users.
Yeah.
So overall, I did like your team. I do like the option of speed passing into Darmanitan that's banded. So
that's scary.
That's very scary. Overall, it's not you're not rated low due to the fact that I think your team's like necessarily worse than everybody's. I just feel like your team's just lacking a little bit in some areas compared to people above you as well. So
yeah, I can see that.
But obviously you'll be biased to your own team. Everybody is.
Yeah.
So unless your team is absolute garbage, then even if you're wanting to be biased, it's gonna be hard for you to argue. Yeah. So overall, that's that team. So I think we're moving on to the Chicago Cub Chews. I know earlier when I did this at 1 a.m. So if some of the things are off, it's because I did this at 1 in the morning. Okay, yeah. So the Chicago Cub Chews are
number 10
whalefish, or PDA whalefish. Is that how it's said? I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're number 10.
Otherwise known as the new Ryan.
The new Ryan? Is this the better Ryan?
We'll see.
Is he better than Ryan, or is just the new Ryan?
He's just the new Ryan
for the time being. All right, so
then again, he drafted Meganium, so
yeah.
He's leaning towards worse Ryan, but again, it's still a race. It's a race.
All right. So we have Lando T, Rotomwash, Mega Altaria, Ferrothorn, Chandelure, Azelf, Zoroark, Hitmonlee, Aselgor, Kamala, and Meganium. So I'll just start off with, why the hell is your Z-move user Azelf and not Lando T?
I completely agree. And I remember him talking to a couple of us about it, and I don't remember his reasoning. Oh, yeah. He said he just didn't... He used Lando T as a Z-Mon last season, I think, and he did not do as well as he'd liked with it, so I think that's the reason why he chose Azelf as a Z-Mon.
Get better with using Lando T. That's what you need to do first off. Azelf is not a bad Z-Mon, but when you have access to a threat like Lando T, who loves using Z-moves, especially getting access to a good flying type move, I don't think that's an opportunity you should pass up, even if you used it terribly the first time.
Yeah, I agree.
That was one of the biggest gripes of this
I think he saw himself bringing a more defensive set most weeks than not.
Yeah.
But
still. I never talked to him about it. This is just me going over what I thought at the time, when especially ranking this. I had no idea why he had not Lando T as a Z-move mod, and to me that wasn't gonna roll with like how this team should have been. But Azelf isn't a bad Z-Mon, don't get me wrong, but when Lando T is there, I feel like that always should be your Z-Mon.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me actually talk about other things other than a Z-Mon now. So this team's hazard removal is kind of meh. Kamala's a spinner. Yeah, it's a spinner. Hitmonlee
It
is
is
his
a
other
spinner.
spinner.
That is true.
Kamal is okay at spinning. Has issues living physical hits, so it's gonna any physical threats that keep it from coming in.
Both of his hazard removal gets completely walled by bulky ghost types.
Yeah.
So that could be a problem. That could be an issue.
Yeah. So like those teams with Dusclops and Dusknoir, you're just not spinning versus them.
Yeah.
But his hazard setters are pretty decent. He does have Ferrothorn and a Selgor, and Lando T as his hazard setters. I feel like the main rocker on this team is probably going to end up being Lando T, so maybe overall that'll be better that it's not a Zmon, but I do foresee Ferrothorn coming some weeks with hazard stack because of the lack of like good hazard removal on some of the teams in the league.
And of course Zororoark is always an issue.
Yeah. Illusion in itself is an ability that just throws people off because you have to guess sometimes whether or not, hey, that mon hasn't taken damage yet. Is that a Zoroark or is that the mon that I'm facing? If I choose wrong here, I could lose a mon.
Exactly.
That's always an issue with Zoroark. Do you feel like this team has some like good setup sweepers with Azelf, Hitmonlee with the Unburdened set, Lando T and Mega Altaria?
I feel like in the beginning of his draft, he tried to build like an Oras OU team with the Lando T, Rotom Wash, Pharaoh Core.
Yeah.
With Mega Altaria. Like, those were staples back then, kind of.
Yeah, for teams, for sure. Again, Lando T is a great setup mon. I just wish it had a Z move on this team because it being a setup mon with the Z move would be great on this team.
Yeah.
Gonna be my biggest gripe this whole team until we move on. This team has some decent bulk. It has access to Wish Pass for like Rotom Wash and stuff. It's not good Wish Pass because Kamal is not that great of a Wish Passer. Its HP stat is pretty small, so its wishes are not that big.
Yeah.
I guess it does have access, and then it has access to Heal Beller and Altaria as well. Overall, this team's okay. It could have been a lot better, for sure. Why do you have Meganium on this team?
I'm not going to defend that.
I don't see a reason for it on this team. You could have picked.
He could have picked Pichu.
You have a grass type already. Why did you?
If it wasn't already sniped.
It's just. But overall, like I guess Meganium does give him screens, so if he wants to run that, I guess that's an option.
That's about it.
Yeah. Anyway, now we're going on to Shinx's team, Wildcat Shinx, which I believe is on page 4. All right. So this team has Jirachi, Garchomp, Zapdos, Mega Gardevoir, Sneasel, Diancie, Lulamamola, Hitmontop, Houndoom, Venusaur, Cinccino, and Surskit. So, your speed tiers, they're super clumped. You have 3 base 100s and a base 95 and a base 102, and your 2 highest speed mons are both base 115. I feel like that's really clumpy.
Yeah.
And
I feel like this team should have been ranked a bit higher.
Yeah.
Just because the first 4 mons that he has, they're great. Like.
Yeah, but like
they're just it's a good core.
I like the core at the top, but like I do feel like that it's going to be relying on those 4 most weeks, and it's going to become pretty predictable.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Alamola
will help out with
yeah.
Sea Anemone, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hazard removal on this team's pretty decent. Has access to Zapdos and Hitmontop for hazard removal. Hitmontop's probably usually only, not even usually, just mostly good just for spinning, and that's about it. Most of the time, Hitmontop can't really do much else but spin. I've never been proven wrong on this, but I've never done a PR video before. But I've done PRs, I guess, before, but not a video. But go ahead and prove me wrong if Hitmontop comes offensive and does some work. I will say I'm wrong about this, but other than that,
the technician set could potentially do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, then there's Surskit.
Yeah, has Surskit has that web access if you really want to.
Yeah.
Has access to 3 decent rockers. They're all different in some ways. They don't. They only 2 of them share a common weakness of a ground type between Jirachi and Diancie, but that's not too big of a deal with like Zapdos on this team and stuff.
Yeah.
I do like this team's bulkiness to it. Its offensive pressure is really good with Mega Gardevoir and like Jirachi, Garchomp. Like those, I agree there. That's a really strong and annoying offensive core to deal with. But
Yeah.
I feel like some of the issues outweigh the great benefit of the core that he has. So
All I really hope is he doesn't bring King's Rock Cinccino.
that's definitely being brought. Just to
Like, don't do that, man. You
Okay,
can't
Shinx.
have a Alola Mola and then King's Rock Cinccino. You can't do that.
Shinx. Against IA, please bring King's Rock Cincino and then just flinch him to death with Jirachi and Cincino. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. All he's missing is Togekiss.
Yep. I understand you thought this team rated a little bit higher. I just didn't think so personally, but overall it was a pretty good draft. It
Yeah, I'd agree.
had some great offensive threats with some decent bulky mons. So, moving on to the Twin Leaf Typhlosions, which is I believe is Ryan.
Ryan. First page.
Yep, I know. He's the first team I did.
He has Megalopody, Reuniclus, Tornadus Therian, Jolteon, Dhelmise, Registeel, Togetic, Kingdra, Politoed, Kabutops, and Scrafty. You want to talk about why you ranked him where he is now?
First off, I know you have a rain team, and ground types are not necessarily good on rain teams, but you don't have a fucking ground type, and your electric immunity is Jolteon. Why the fuck is that a thing on this team? Like, I understand Jolteon.
Why do you sound so angry at him?
Because I've drafted Rain before.
I'm complaining, but
I've drafted Rain before, and it pisses me off. It's like, I don't care that you have Rain, and your team's like super weak to Electric on top of that. Like, you have 2 flying types and 3 water types. Now, mind you, one of those is Kingdra, but like, still, it's just it bugs me a lot. And you're gonna be bringing Jolteon nearly every game with how weak your team is to 2 electric types. So.
And then it becomes a prediction game on whether or not they're going to go for the electric type move.
When you could have just drafted like Donphan over Dhelmise and then had a better. At least then HP Ice doesn't like kill you if you're AV and you're a ground type.
You got to be AV though. It's situational.
I don't know.
The ground type would have definitely. I feel like it would have helped this team a bit more.
Yeah, it would have been better.
But
it's like Rain always has the issue of being weak to electric, but I don't like that the only electric immunity is Jolteon.
Yeah.
This is coming from somebody who's drafted Rain, and that's the only reason I was kind of mad about that. But
you know. Megalopony and Tornadus Therian, I think those could do well. And of course, then Tornadus T is a Zmon.
I definitely agreed with that.
Which is great. And then he can spam Hurricane and Rain, which is always good.
Torn actually not having to miss Hurricanes is really nice.
Yeah.
Team has some decent like setup mons with like I guess it has DD Scrafty and like multiple ways that Kingdra has to way to set up, and I guess and then CM Reuniclus, which is always annoying.
Yeah.
I do feel like this team's also like has some decent hazard removal. Has Dhelmise, Togetic, and I guess if you want to bring Kabutops with Rapid Spin, you can. Dhelmise is a great hazard removal. I personally think Dhelmise is really good as a hazard removal, and Togetic's okay. I know I had another thing. Another reason why this team was ranked lower as well, besides the lacking of a ground type, which is fairly important, especially with this being a rain team. I forget. I put myself notes, but yeah. This team is kind of weak to knockoffs. Its defensive stuff doesn't like its items going away, especially not Dhelmise or Togetic, which are going to be coming a lot of games for like electric type, or at least Dhelmise will be for the opposing electric types when you can't bring an immunity like Jolteon. So, but the top 3 mons on this team are going to be really threatening, but like then you have Rain to always worry about. But like this team is going to be pretty weak to Volt Turn, I feel.
I guess he has wish passing with Togetic, but I mean, he has a core.
He's a core. It's a core. This team's very offensive oriented for sure, though.
Yeah.
And it has the bulky offense in Dhelmise and Reuniclus, so its only real dedicated walls are like Registeel, Togetic, and that's about it for dedicated walls. Because like Dhelmise has access to being a wall, but like most of the time, bringing AV with like offensive moves make it a lot better.
Yeah.
Overall, Ryan, get a ground type, please, and then you might be ranked higher if you win and continue to win or something. But you're down here for now. Moving on to David now. I, for some reason, messed up when saying stuff. The Soviet Slowkings. Or no, that's Polish. Wait, what the fuck? I'm good at remembering things. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to move on to Polish team. You go ahead and read that off because I'm going to stop talking for a moment.
Do you know what page it's on?
It's on page 11.
Oh, wait, I found it. All right, so he has elements as a Zmon, Necrozma, Mega Diancie, Blastoise, Diggersby, Heracross, Electros, Salazzle, Leafeon, Ninetales, Kecleon, and Frogadier. He has some decent speed tiers, I guess. His fastest mon, I think, being Salazzle. He has a Sunsetter, which is pretty good, but I think his only way to abuse the sun is Leafeon.
Yeah, and Leafeon's not
so
good at abusing the sun.
Yeah. Diggersby though is always a threat.
Yeah, Diggersby's been a pretty big set, and I don't know why I don't know why this has been a trend, but I didn't even know about this. But the normal berry's been raising up in like league usage from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because of like threats like Diggersby and stuff being picked more. So I don't know why I mentioned that. It's just something I thought was weird because I didn't know that berry existed till now.
I'm not sure how well Mega Diancie pairs with this team.
Yeah, like that was the thing. Like he does have some decent hazard removal, but they're both, or not both. One of them's Blastoise, which is a decent one, and then Salamence is Zmon, and you really don't want to bring Defog on it most of the time.
Yeah.
And Mega Diancie, I guess, can block him, but like I don't get Mega Diancie's place on this team either. Like it kind of feels out of place on the team.
I don't know. It can be a threat, but I don't know.
I like the Kecleon and Frogadier picks just for this is my personal bias coming in for this part, but I like Frogadier's the god, and then Kecleon is meh. But no, the two protein users is kind of interesting. He does have some decent hazard setters with the Kecleon, the Frogadier, Mega Diancie, Necrozma, and Diggersby options so he has a lot of hazard options, but I feel like this team overall to me, my biggest issue with this team is I felt like it was very top heavy with like there's very few good mons and there are a bunch of mons that might come, but like don't really add a lot to the team. Like I don't really get the Sun Core. Like I think Victory Bell would have fit the Leafeon. That Victory Bell is a lot better at abusing Sun, or like if you could have gotten Venusaur. I don't know how the draft went personally, but when you plan to draft the Sun part, it looks like you planned it really late, but it's whatever. I don't know. I don't really think Kecleon and Frogadier really fit this team either. I just feel like they're out of place. Same with the like Sun Core, and then like everything else seems fine. And then Mega Diancie kind of seemed out of place with how this team is built. Necrozma is probably one of the biggest threats on this team, along with Salamence, for sure. Necrozma is just really annoying and bulky to take, really hard to take down because it's so bulky. With like Calm Mind access and the Calm Mind Air Defense set that everybody knows about is decent in League format. I think like Calm Mind Rock Polish is probably better in League. Things like that, so I don't know. Anything else you want to say about this team before we move on?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay. So we have the Las Vegas Venusaurs.
Yep, coached by Illusion.
I don't know much about Illusion as a person, honestly.
He's a pretty good battler.
Okay.
Nice guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues I had with this team.
All right, so you want me to say his team?
Go for it.
All right, so he has Weavile, Thunderous Eye, Clefable, Snorlax, Como-O, Metagross, Mandibuzz, Lurantis, Keldeo, and Stunfisk. All right, so tell me why you hate it.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it like I hate Ryan's team, but I do like the biggest problem with this is two of his biggest offensive threats, Weavile and Thundersai, are both weak to rocks, and the hazard removal on this team is Mandibuzz and Lurantis.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
That's a pretty big problem. Hazards are pretty decent. He does have a lot of good like setup mons access, so that does help this team a lot from not being like lower. I do feel like this team though, even with all that all those mons that are good at setting up, his only way to really gain momentum is like Thunderous Eye and Mandibuzz. And this team is super weak to rocks.
I mean, you could always run Taunt on like Thunderous Eye, run like a bulky spread, I guess.
Yeah, but that means Thunderous Eye is going to be forced into a role that role a lot more than it probably wants to, and it really likes rather running like an offensive Life Orb set or like Expert Belt, or just as like, I guess, what's his Zmon? Zmon is Keldeo. I don't like Zmon as being Keldeo on this team either.
Yeah, I feel like Thunderous Eye might have been a better Zmon, but
either Thunderous Eye, even maybe Como would have been better. I probably would have picked Thunderous Eye though over Keldeo. Keldeo's not. But
hey, you know that SD Keldeo, don't sleep on it.
Definitely won't after watching you use it.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. Keldeo's definitely something that's going to make this team hard to switch into, though. Because Keldeo is just annoyingly hard to switch into with its coverage is okay. It does have trouble beating like some mons that are bulkier, and like I believe like fairy types are usually hard for it to break unless you're SD Poison EMZ.
Which is what I've done.
But overall, I don't know. This team, I feel like it's lacking a lot that teams above it have, and like its bulk is pretty good. But I feel like the weakness to rocks on a lot of the offensive threatening mons and one of the main hazard removals, because Lurantis just, to be honest, Lurantis isn't coming very often, if at all.
That contrary, though.
It hits harder than Superior.
I don't know.
But
Lurantis could come.
Lurantis just...
it could work Spadef-wise.
It gets flicked most of the time.
I don't know.
Dies. It just... I don't see it coming, and if it does come, it'll be just there to defog and then die. So, I don't know. This team's okay. Wish that some of the things were different on this team. We'll see how you do with it. You could do better with than I think you were going to do with it, but...
yeah.
Then we have... Then you want to move on? Or do you want to say something real quick before we move on?
We can move on.
Okay. So then we have the Chicago Conkelders. Come on. Why are there two Chicago teams? That's why I got confused earlier. Chicago Conkelders, which is coached by David. This is the actual team coached by David, not the other two teams that I said were. Let's never bring this up again. Nobody bring this up, or next PR you're going to be last if you bring this up. Anyway, I don't like David's team. There's a lot of issues with this team. This team does have Zygarde 10% and Thunder's T as electric switch-ins, which Thunder's T isn't a bad one. Zygarde 10 doesn't really want to. And then his spinners both being... maybe I should say what the team is. He has Celesteela, Zygarde 10%, Florges, Thunderous T, Tentacruel, Miltank, Mesprit, Starmie, Incineroar, and Trevenant.
Yes.
This team has a pretty big electric weakness, and I guess Thunderous T and Zygarde 10 help a little bit with that. But both the hazard removals on this team are Starmie and Tentacruel, which are both weak to electric, which I don't like, having both your hazard removals be weak to the same thing. Because that means they don't... If they want to prep to get rid of your hazard removal, it's not as hard at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, overall this team just kind of felt lacking in like a lot of departments. Is speed department especially because it drops from 101 to 80. Because most of the time you're not bringing Miltank or Tentacruel offensive with their base 100 speeds. And even then it's 100 to 80, which is, with how this team is already built, it just, I don't know, I feel like this team's lacking a lot in a lot of areas. And
I feel like his Zmon should have been Celesteela.
Yeah, looking at how this team is built, it definitely probably should have been Celesteela, because at least it'd have a bit of offensive pressure with Celesteela with that.
Yeah.
I don't know, this team, I had a lot of issues looking at it over it. He has like 3 good offensive mons, I guess. And if you want to run Celesteela, has like Thunderous T, Zygarde, 10%, and Starmie. You do have access to like using Incineroar. Incineroar is Intimidate in this league, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I guess Incineroar is a little bit more threatening at that point, but I don't know. This team has great bulk, but it's definitely gonna have to, like, with the fact that both its hazard removals are both water types, it's gonna be pressured really hard by hazards, I feel. And
yeah, I agree.
It's just lacking the offensive pressure I feel like it needed, and it has very little of it. Now, David, you can prove me wrong, and you may hate me for this, but yeah, I don't think you should be rated any higher than 15. So, and then we'll move on to 16, which unfortunately isn't a team that I wanted to rate at 16. I love Doorman, but like, oh my god, let's go to Doorman's team, and I'll go and let you say his team, because, it's not, all right, like, he has a lot of great mons on this team, but it just doesn't look like it's gonna work very well together. I'll go over what I think.
Shy, why don't you tell us why you hate Doorman?
I don't hate.
What do you really despise about him as a person? Then you can go on to his team.
I don't hate Doorman. I like him as a person. He was the person that I like talked to a lot after joining this league that you invite. After I joined last season, and then left to become a PR person, I guess. But like, I like Doorman. Don't get me wrong, his team just, I don't like.
If you say so, Shy.
Obviously not biased in putting him down here because I don't like him. I do like you, Doorman. I do.
Not.
Anyway.
Okay, so he has Victini, Skarmory, Suicune, Xurkitree, Mamoswine, Gudra, Mienshao, Mega Audino, Gourgeist, and War Turtle.
So, similar issue to the last team of having hazard removal be weak to the same type. Fastest mon on this team is Mienshao.
Yeah.
Where's the speed on this team? Then has Victini, which Victini is always a really great mon. Then it goes dropping from Victini down to 85, so like this team's speed is lacking so much at this point. It doesn't even have the Trick Room option, like, to even maybe give it a little bit of a boost there, but like, and then the fact that just, I don't think War Turtle's going to come very often, and I don't think War Turtle's that great for this team. He could have drafted like Pineco, and that would have been better for this team. Give him more hazards and stuff. But like, hazard setters are Skarm and Mamoswine, and that means Skarm's going to be setting up its own hazards a lot and defogging them away a lot. This team's, I guess your defensive core is fairly solid. You have Skarm, Suicune, Gudra, Mega Dino, and Gourgeist. Team has some good hard hitters, but it lacks so much in speed that I feel like it's going to be the biggest struggle for it. And then
I'm not sure if Mega Audino really fits this team either. But I can see the wish up passing to Skarm and Suicune, I guess, and Gudra, but Mega Audino is kind of set up fodder.
I just feel like this team overall, like Victini being probably the best mon on this team, is going to have trouble with hazards going up all the time. Because I just don't feel like this team's going to be able to keep hazards up.
Hazards off, yeah.
Because, like,
I'd agree.
Your hazard removal is Skarm and War Turtle, and Skarm is super easy to prep for if you don't have other hazard removal. Like, a good electric type and a good fire type can do a lot of work, and then if you have a good electric type, that means you're going to have to risk your mana sometimes trying to, like, predict those electric types. Mamoswine is probably a better electric switch in than a lot of ones with the thick fat plus
other ground types, but yeah.
I don't know. This team has some great offensive pressure, the lower speed, but like team's just lacking so much speed and lacking just good hazard removal with like some of the mons wanting to keep hazards off the field, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Zmon, but the Zmon isn't a bad choice. But overall,
Z hypnosis can be.
if you
It can
land
be
it,
annoying. It can
if
be
you
really
land it,
annoying.
does require you to land
I will
hypnosis.
say that.
Overall, I do think this is the worst team in the league. I love you, Doorman. Just your team isn't that great. The fact that you're lacking so much speed, you're lacking hazard removal other than Scar, lacking. That means you're going to be defogging your own hazards away like 90% of the time. You have good offensive threats, but like that are slow, but they're going to get worn down so quickly, and this team's just going to get beaten by, I feel like, good teams that can keep momentum versus it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And this team hardly has setup on it, even then, like to maybe help with that speed problem. Like his setup is Circuitry, Suicune, I guess. That doesn't really help with your speed problem. And then I guess if you
Scarf me and Chow.
Scarf Mienshao, I guess, is there, but like that means you're gonna be bringing Scarf Mienshao a lot. And then I guess Scarf Teeny, because Scarf Teeny is always an option. Then you have the one thing I do want to mention that will probably help this team is the SD weak armor. Skarm is going to destroy other teams for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that and Curse Goodra.
Yeah.
And of course, can't forget the banded gore guys.
Yep. But no, this team just, I feel like, lacking in a lot of areas that if you fix over the season, I feel like we'll do better. I just don't see you doing all that well with this team. So, any final thoughts that we have before we end off?
It's not okay. So this team it has its flaws, but it's not something you can't win with.
No, it's not one of those teams. No, definitely not.
Yeah. And of course, all of these rankings are just opinionated.
Yeah.
None of them are really factual. It's just what we see and how we think they'll do throughout the season.
Yeah. If you disagree, prove me wrong.
Or don't. No.
Or don't. If you don't, that's fine. I like being right, so I don't mind you not proving me wrong. I am not very good at talking, so I apologize if sitting through this was hard as well, by the way, people on the internet, because I stutter a lot, as I can tell from being in the call with me.
Yeah, well, we could have been harsher. That's all we're gonna say.
Yeah. Ryan, get a ground type, and I think that's about it. See you guys.